Hey everybody, so here we are, and can you believe we made it to December already? As you know, this is the check-in with. This is the monthly IG live chat that my very good friend Charlie Red and I co-host. And I'm going to take a moment, check a look here, one or the other. So let's see what happens here. See if you're able to join. There you are.
Hey,
Hey, hey now. Wait, hold on, brother, because I want to make sure. Now that I'm sitting in the dining room today. Like, okay, I hope that makes a difference in terms of the camera. I don't know if it will, but I'm gonna give it a shot. There we go.
that's all you can do. Give it a shot.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, look at you, looking very huntsman like. What's with the vest? We got three quarter. What are we doing?
Yeah, no, that's my new signature. Between that and the Jolly Ranchers, wearing the vest, that's my new signature now. Yeah.
Jesus, Jesus, really? Okay, I see you. I see you. I don't know what spawned this whole three-quarter length conversation, but it's what it is. I guess we could say, well, the kids. I'm sure we were wearing that stuff back in the day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And especially, last time, I talked, last time, I actually had a conversation. We talked about corduroy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I did
Yeah,
think about you when I wore my cords this week because it's been like,
terrible.
40 some degrees. Yeah. So
How,
I had to
how
break them
cold?
out.
How
Like
cold?
40 something degrees. Yeah.
Mm. So I guess you really couldn't stand it here in Kansas with our 27.
I know. No, no, no.
Well, here's the thing. I know that we are a couple of minutes early, and I know that for us is by design, and I was just kind of letting everyone know. Number one, I appreciate you jumping on. It's just that time of the year, like you said, we've all got a lot of things going on. Um, and I figured, you know what, why don't we just go ahead and jump on early, and we could probably end it early. I don't think anybody would mind that, especially since this is what we're calling kind of our year-end review of sort.
Mhm.
Da-da-da-da. I know I sent you all the topics that we discussed this year,
Yeah.
probably at zero dark 30 this morning because I was awake.
It's
Uh,
5:34. It's 5:34. I got it.
it was 4:44 my time. Yeah, 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 yeah. And so, oh, at least you have it because I can't access it through my phone because I'm on this anyway. And that's
Well,
good.
let me share a little secret. When you sent it, I pretty much said, okay, I took my work phone and I took a picture of it. So now I have it to reference because, I'm 56 now. I'm getting old, so I'll probably forget. So I have them.
Perfect, because I'm going to point in your direction a lot.
Okay.
But again, I wanted to start out by again addressing that this is the check-in with, and as I was mentioning, as all of you were joining, or those of you that will watch after the fact, that this is the monthly IG Live chat that my very good friend Charlie Red, who you see here, and myself co-host. And again, we discuss a myriad of topics. I almost feel like I've been saying the same thing now for a handful of years.
You
But
have.
it sounds good. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's just keep going. But we discuss a myriad of topics, and this month is no different. Again, we're just going to kind of highlight some of the things that we talked about this year, just as kind of a recap. And again, for anyone that gets on and says, boy, that was short, it's December and it's holiday time in between getting shopping done or having chores to do or running errands or having family. We're a little busy, but we still wanted to make sure we had time to do this today. So there you go. So don't be mad if we end this early.
Yes.
Just see us next month if that's the case. So there you
Hey,
go.
hey, way to
Oh,
tee it up and brought to you by Deanne's. Yeah. Let's go ahead. Yeah. Because you mentioned all the other stuff that you had to do. You didn't mention also your business and your, launching that and that success that has been. So again, I'm glad they're a proud sponsor of this chat. So thank you, D to Deanne's.
here's what's funny. All these years I've known you, I don't know if you knew that was my middle name.
I didn't.
That's what's funny.
Yeah.
I was like, Chuck knows a lot about me. I don't know if he knew that was my middle name or not.
No.
Hilarious.
Yes.
But then again, how
I,
often do we go ahead?
no, but I pretended I did because I think you answered somebody. I think you actually went on and explained it. And so I pretended I did. So, I'll be transparent and say, no, I did not. But I pretended like I did. Yes.
Hilarious.
Yes. Yes.
By the way, I know his middle name. I paid attention. I listened. But
Well,
I remember you saying, actually, you said it a few months ago, and I was like, do, 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 do. Put that back here because I'm going to forget. So,
come on,
anyway,
I'm a junior, so I really didn't have much of a choice.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, fair enough. All right. Well, one of the things I was thinking about coming into this conversation was what favorite topics. That's one. Okay, so maybe we could touch on that. Two would be most uncomfortable
Mhm.
topic. So I feel like between those two, we could probably, set a little something off for quite a bit. So what are you thinking in terms of out of everything we discussed, and just again as a recap to everyone, this year we were really intentional. Would you say, Chuck,
Mhm.
about the topics we chose?
Yeah.
And some of them that were really kind of heavy hitters. What would you think? Or some that are really heavy hitters we talked about?
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's that's a very good point that you brought up. I'm glad I have it in front of me. Um, because again, I think they all were very engaging in their own right. And like you said, they were all intentional for a purpose. Um, but men's health, I think, was probably the most profound. Um, because I am a man, that and mental health. So when you start talking about just health in general and how many people are going through trials and tribulations and what they're going through, and to have people come on and actually share their story, um, whether it be from a mental health or also from a men's health perspective, I think to answer your question, those two were the most profound and also probably the most difficult.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Um, Men's health, I would agree, albeit that I'm not a man, but as you know, but for those that maybe don't know that weren't here or that you could now go back and watch it. What month was that, by the way? March, April,
No, that was
May,
actually men's health was actually June.
June. Okay,
Mhm.
because we were trying to coordinate it with men's health, for
Yes.
the country. My husband has had struggle with prostate cancer, and so we had him along with our brother Howard Smith
Hmm.
and his lovely wife, our sister, Tammy, came on and had a really good in-depth conversation because that's something that we need to make sure that we kind of focus in on. Not to say that men's health as a whole is not important because we know that it is. I think that one thing that came out of that, and that to me is why that one was one of the more important ones to me, because it's about awareness, as you said. It's about getting the information out there to the masses, one, and then two, just from um, our community, let's just say, and I don't want to be exclusive to anyone else or exclude anyone else,
Hmm.
but to be very inclusive in this thought of African American men specifically, and the lack of wanting to go to the doctor and
Yes.
being seen and getting care, adequate care, is something I wanted to make sure we shined a light on, because of something he would have never known about his prostate cancer. Howard would have never known about his had they not been getting physicals and getting these particular tests done. So it's just very important. Again, not just because I talk about that and I say that because I think that within our community, we have a very big problem with that. But again, to now bring everyone back into the fold from a men's health perspective, it's very important to have that awareness. And for men as a whole, I don't care what race, creed, color, ethnicity you are, go to the doctor. The importance of understanding what your importance is, and not just this life
Hmm.
and not just in this world, but in your family, within your job, as a husband, as a father. All of those things are very, very important, and you fill that vital role. So it's very important that when we talked about that, I was hoping that that's some of what came off in that conversation. So to me, really one of the more important conversations we had, like you said, mental health was great.
Yeah.
That was a great conversation. It was very informative. You were able to bring on
Yes.
some what I would call experts,
Yes.
and have those conversations. And forgive me for not remembering those sisters' names in this moment.
Hmm.
Was it Natasha?
Yeah. Nikisha. Dr.
Nikisha? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Dr.
Yeah.
Will.
Yeah.
They
Yes.
were able to bring her, and she actually brought a guest with her. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that was a very, very, powerful, conversation to just
Absolutely.
address it from a mental health standpoint, and also, Dr. Brooks being a nurse practitioner, to be able to see the correlation sometimes between mental health and also physical health as well. So
Absolutely.
again, those were, just like what you mentioned with respect to the men's health, we weren't not trying to exclude anybody. We could have had a skin cancer um, conversation, and maybe that might be something we want to do in the future. But just again trying to highlight, letting that be a foundation to highlight just health in general and men's health, not excluding women either,
Right.
but just this was just we just kind of pulled that out, and we had
Hmm.
people willing to share. So that was definitely a good thing.
Yeah.
To one of the other, I mean, let's see, we had, I mean, we started out pretty strong with the next generation, millennials, versus Gen Z. Just to go through some topics, did finances play a role when dating or getting married in terms of the breadwinner? Then, of course, we had cancer prevention in April. And then, as we talked about just previously, mental health in May and men's health in June. July, we talked about entrepreneurs and the perks and challenges of even being an entrepreneur. Um, in August, what were the moments? What was the moment where you felt most motivated? So we got a little introspective there. And then September, if you won the lottery, what would your today look like in 5 years? So again, being, one of the more funner topics, I would say, especially after coming off such heavy topics.
Hmm.
Then in October, what are you holding on to that's holding you back? So again, another introspective conversation. And then in November, do you hate or love better?
Yeah. Let me go back and make a slight correction. We had the conversation with prostate cancer during the cancer prevention
Yes.
conversation versus men's health because we had Neil on for men's health. So
Yeah.
let me make that correction.
Okay.
Actually, I'll be honest with you, and I was saying to you, have we been doing this for 3 years or two? We're going into three. Is that what it is? I think so.
I let's call it five. Make it even. Let's call it five.
As I was saying, we're going into year three, and I can say that because when I went in and I looked at all of the topics, I purposely had them sectioned out by year. And even for next year, I'm sitting and saying, okay, well, these are some of the things, blah, blah, blah. But anyhow, and I'm thinking back to a year ago or over a year ago, almost 3 years ago, when we first started talking about this and kind of getting on board with this. And, when I think about health, I think about Vince every day, all day. I think about him. I think about Elgin every day, all day, and to know that we had both of them on, 2 years ago. And, our brother Vince is no longer with us for whatever challenges were had there. And Elgin has had some other things that have gone on and just wanted to be supportive of that. But again, that's why what I was saying, to me, the topics that were some more enduring for this year being intentional, to me, it was very important that we at least discussed health
Mm-hmm.
and health related topics. It's fine to come on here and have a good time and we can reminisce. And, how often do we sit back and talk about Eisenhower, the high school we went to? Or since you and I go back to elementary school, how often do we do that? Sure, there's a lot of people that might jump on because they know us from that far back, but there's only so much of that conversation you could have. We have to have some real life conversation because we've experienced things since those days. You and I have been out of school for 40 years. We've been out of high school for 40 years coming up.
Yeah, don't remind me, but yes. Yeah.
But
Don't
again, it's just,
because
well,
it felt like yesterday. I mean, all of it to be honest with you, all of it felt like yesterday. And so I tried to
mhm.
pass on that wisdom that, you used to hear older people talk. Yeah, you blink and you'll look up and you're my age. Well, they were telling the truth.
It's like,
Yeah. We have now replaced our parents.
and that's another thing that you and I have talked about. And I want you to be able to come back because you say this a lot about what the check-in actually is. So even though I can sit here and say, oh, it's a monthly chat we have, blah, 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 what really spawned the check-in? Maybe you can kind of share that really quickly for those that maybe will tune in and never tuned in before.
I think really what it was is just the conversations that we used to have, offline. And it was just a way of being able to realize that some of those very in-depth, spiritual, sometimes confrontational, sometimes conforming, sometimes all the above. It was just a way to be able to invite other people into our space and allow them to partake and also share as well. And so
Absolutely.
that's really what the whole motivation or the genesis of the check-in was all about. It was really to
Hmm.
allow other people to not to feel that they, they were in this game of life by themselves. That
Yes.
they come in and they can find a place, find a platform where they can feel comfortable with whether they chose to just text it, comments, um, and be a part of, so that again they know that they're not alone in this journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that one thing that you and I've talked about a lot, so let's get away from the things that we did discuss up here, but the things that we talk about privately.
Hmm.
There's a lot of things I think we would love to discuss on here.
Hmm.
We have made it a point to not be using the word you just used, confrontational.
Hmm.
We've made it a point to remain somewhat vanilla, and I'm going to say that out loud, and I'm okay with saying that because of the fact that we want to share information. There's more than enough quote unquote podcasts or TV shows or news or whatever for people to go and indulge in whatever their viewpoint is, left, right, or center. You can do whatever you choose to do with respect to that. But we want to make sure that the information, at least that we're sharing, that it's not something that's going to drive people away. And I wonder if some people have kind of wondered why we pick the topics we choose, or maybe they seem kind of safe. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things you and I talk about that are not safe,
Not, no.
and we would never bring that here because that's not what this is about. We'd like to bring some of it here, and would be very interested to see how engaged people would actually be, but just don't want to get caught up in being like other quote unquote podcasts or live casts or conversations, whatever that is, that's going to be confrontation, that's going to be, an opinion that's slanted one way or the other. Just don't have time for it.
Well, I mean, from just a behavior standpoint, I don't mind being confrontational or controversial. I
Hmm.
don't. I really don't mind. I mean, what you gonna do? Whoop my tail? You you might want to think about that twice. So I don't mind being that way. The challenge of it is, and the one thing area that I had to grow in is that everybody can't receive it. So one of the things I had to learn in my life is intention versus interpretation. So my intention may be very pure. My intention may be to uplift. My intention may be to educate, but based upon the person's life experiences, how would they interpret my
Right.
intention? And that's out of my control. And when you
Hmm.
talk audience, potentially this large, where you have us on, Facebook, you have us on YouTube, Instagram. So you don't know how somebody's sitting there and how they may interpret something that's as very vanilla as it possibly can be, very non-confrontational. Um, but based upon what they went through in their own life, they might view it differently and have a different reaction to it. So
Hmm.
that's why, again, our platform or the design of our conversations has been the way it's been.
And again, I don't have a problem with it. Like I said, if there's things that I want to talk about that are challenging, I could talk to you offline. I don't have to talk to you here about it. Because that's a different relationship. Don't get me wrong. Again, folks, like I said a minute ago, I've known this man since elementary. So it's different. Um, but I also feel like I want to be a respecter of those that tune in, of the audience. And I don't need to get up here and spew anything at all. That's things that, as a matter of fact, I don't even know if I would do that with you per se. That's things I would talk with my husband about if I really feel something that's indifferent like that. So, but again, for anyone that has questioned, why do you guys only kind of talk about this or that? Well, as you just read off the things that we did talk about this year, all of those conversations weren't happy-go-lucky, and uh, they have their own set of challenges. Every single topic you mentioned had its own set of challenges. Because, like you said, somebody is experiencing some of that stuff that we're talking about. That's why we brought it forth in the first place. So again, it's an opportunity to share with the masses. Why are you smiling like that?
Because again, I've received feedback, and not to put people on blast, but certain topics actually resonated with certain people in a very, very positive manner. because I got the feedback from it. So, like I said, without putting people on blast, it did work.
Yeah. But I think that's what we had hoped for coming in anyway. That's really what we were hoping. And you said that already. Um, Allow us to reach people and allow us to reach them where they're at.
Mhm.
Other than the fact that we're Christians and we don't make any bones about that, but God deals with people and he interacts with people and he works with people exactly where they're at. And just consider us to be those agents of the Lord and just doing the good work of the Lord. And our responsibility is not to come up and be, again, confrontational is the appropriate word to use. So thank you for bringing that one forward. Not our job to be that. And again, there's more than enough outlets that you can go and find that, but it's just not going to be here. So, but I almost feel like we should surprise them one month and talk about something that's really off. I'm just very curious to see what the response would be. 2026 might be an interesting year.
Hey, like I said, I will never shy away from it because again, my intention, and that's the only thing I could be judged on. My heart,
Mm-hmm.
my
Mm-hmm.
intention is pure. My intention is never to hurt anybody. My
Right.
intention is never to embarrass anybody. My
Yeah.
intention is to help, so it's pure. Again, I just had to realize that in my limitation as being a human being, I can't control people's interpretation. But
Yeah.
I would love that. Oh, I would love that. They'd be like, well, wait a second. Is that Charlie Red? So I get an opportunity to go on and I started to send you some comments I read on Facebook from, people we have mutually in common. And, again, it's can be very polarizing. I just laugh. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I just laugh at it.
Mm-hmm.
It's again, it's I understand their perspective and I can also appreciate the fact that they felt comfortable enough to share it. Because had they not shared it, I never would have known
Absolutely.
how they really think.
Absolutely. But then I have to ask myself, does it really matter? Again, folks, we're not getting off topic. I promise you, this is very similar to the conversations he and I have on the phone when we do talk. We probably talk once a month.
Hmm.
Um, Besides this, yeah, I mean, I don't mean to sound like that, and I'm not trying to sound crass, but am I really concerned about how people are? Again, we've been out for almost 40 years. So this is 40 years worth of adulting that we're talking about. And for people to feel the way they feel now, 40 years later, well, that's for you to do.
Hmm.
And like you said, it's interesting to see what people's perspectives are on so many things, especially the things that are happening within this country.
Yes.
But just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean that I have to engage with you. I just want to remember the person you were 40 years ago and just keep going from there. Consider me to have my head down in the sand. But again, I'm not going to get confrontational about something that it's not that important to me. None of
Like
it's important to me.
like even on topic that we talked about, career versus personal life.
Yes.
Which one is more important? I mean, again, even that conversation, could hit very differently, because it causes you to actually be again introspective and
Mm-hmm.
reflect on your own situation and say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I did, maybe I did put my career ahead of my own personal life,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe I put my personal life ahead of my career, and so
Mm-hmm.
now I have some regrets because I'm not as far, I'm not further from where I'm not where I think I should have would be right now because I
I think
made
a
that.
lot of people. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying because I made that choice.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way though. Whereas for me, I did put personal first. Obviously, I got married very young, started having kids somewhat young, but I was intentional. My ex-husband was 3 years older than me, and I was saying, good, we could have these kids and get them out of the way, and then whatever. He was also military, so I wasn't worried about career necessarily. I wasn't worried about going to college, but those are things I did later. And I don't mind that I did them because obviously God put me in a place that I would be able to bold well later on in life, completing education and having this career that I've been in healthcare for over 20 years now. But then again, I have children that are in their 30s. you know, I don't regret that. Because I was sitting back saying, how many of my friends, you and I are the same age. By the way, he's older than me by a day, probably hours, but whatever. I don't know what time of the day he was born, but he's still older than me.
I was born in the morning, so yeah, definitely.
Oh, a full 24 hours.
Yeah, full.
Absolutely. He's a full day older than me.
Yeah.
But I was sitting back saying, how many of our friends are, yeah, and I'm thinking about three off the top of my head, who are 56, 55, 56, with young people running around, with young, meaning less than 12, younger than 12, or that are saying, yeah, I gotta go because I gotta go pick up my baby from, elementary school, or my son's got a game, he's in middle school. You're 56. I could never imagine that being me at this age. I just the wherewithal of where my brain is at and the bandwidth that I had just would work. But those people I think chose career first, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. So, but
I mean, I'm a result of that. I'm a quote unquote miracle baby. So
mm,
result of that. And so my parents were, like I said, 36 years older than me. So yeah, my dad's 54, and I'm graduating from high school, and he's basically my age. So yeah, it's and it was interesting because, again, with that being said, for my peers, my parents were in between their parents and their grandparents, and sometimes closer to their grandparents than they were to their own parents. So
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
interesting dynamic, but
Mhm.
you can actually sit back and smile. There's no judgment. It's just, it is what it is. So sometimes, again, you're put in situations that, not for yourself but for others to be helped to identify. But yeah, it would be very difficult right now for me to be running around after a 6-year-old. Yeah.
Mm, 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 mm. I guess in my mind, I'm saying I know how I felt as when I was younger having kids, and without really, Dana and I, for those that don't know my older brother, we didn't have a whole bunch of little people around us. We didn't have a whole bunch of cousins, and it was just the two of us. So there weren't any younger siblings or whatever, whatever. We didn't
Hmm.
know about having a whole bunch of babies or kids, but until we started having kids. And even then, I didn't know much about much. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But I say all of that to say I did choose to have children younger because I was conscious enough to say I'd like to be able to live some semblance of life in my very early 40s. If I do that, I had my oldest son I was pregnant at 21. So if I had Stephen at 22, and again, he's 34 now, I mean, do the math, it's pretty close there, what I'm talking about. But if I did all of that, then I've got space to be able to do the things I want to do at 40. I could travel, I could this, I could that, and was able, again, get my education, all the things. And my career, I mean, it's been the best career I could have ever done. And this is my second career. First career was in telecommunications, long before I got into healthcare.
Hmm.
So again, just one of the topics that we did cover. And I know one of the things I did ask you was something that was uncomfortable. One of the topics that was uncomfortable. And you were talking about mental health as being something that you consider to be kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah, it is.
Um, I don't know if any of the topics made me kind of have the ick, made me kind of sit back and kind of squirm a little bit in the chair. Because I'm always prepared for whatever we're going to discuss. Um, but going back to what we talked about with regard to my husband and the cancer prevention conversation, it was tough. It was tough. Going through it was tough, and we've now had a second round of it. So since we had the podcast earlier this year, and you said that was in what month again? April,
Hmm.
March, April,
Yes.
something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
April 5th.
April.
Hmm.
Since having had that conversation, my husband has now had to go through radiation treatment that he had to get started here right before his birthday, our birthday
Hmm.
in September. And 10 weeks of and just here recently in the past month or so, completed his treatment. And so now we're finally on the other side of this. Again, praising God for that. But again, it's the point of fact of it was uncomfortable. I'm not going to lie because the situation's been uncomfortable. But God is what I will say, and I'm grateful.
But how many,
So,
again, how many, again, for the people who might join live or the people who might watch this later. And that's what I'm saying, where it was inspirational because I got the feedback from people who might not have wanted to share, on this particular forum. But, I used to have a saying, everybody gets a turn. Everybody gets a turn. Um, at whatever, we all get a turn. So it's very important that we, when it's not our turn, that we support those that it's their turn, because our turn is coming, and we're gonna look for that support as well. And that's why I try to tell you that everybody's not like you.
Yes.
Everybody's not gonna do what you do, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the foundation of that, and the bottom line is that everybody does get a turn, and everybody's going through something, small or greater. And one of the other things that kind of came to my mind is, a problem is only a problem until a bigger one replaces it.
Mm-hmm. I've heard you say that before. Mm-hmm.
So, again, you think that you're going through a problem, all of a sudden now a bigger one replaces it, and so the problem that you thought was a problem before is not really a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Or to piggyback on that is, what we think are problems versus what someone else's problems are.
yeah,
My little
yeah,
minuscule, I stubbed my toe
hmm,
and I'm in pain versus someone that's had their leg amputated.
correct.
What am
Yeah,
I complaining about?
it, correct, correct. So that's what I'm saying. So again, these topics being very intentional. All of them actually had a degree of um, suspense. All of them had a degree, because you don't know where it can go. Um, Even having a guest on, we can't control what they may say.
Mm-hmm.
So all had a degree of suspense and also excitement at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask this, and this is more for audience than it is for you and I, Chuck. And I would really like to get the engagement from those of you that either are currently on, and I see we've got a couple people on, and I just want to be able to identify a couple of names that I saw here. Sister Shanta, I see you. Brother Kendrick King, love you. Jasmine, forgive me, I'm not sure exactly who that might be, but I appreciate you for jumping on. And again, that we started this early, so anyone that jumps on and says, hey, wait a minute, I thought you guys started at 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Pacific. We do, but like I said, it's the first part or the first Saturday of December. It's holiday season, and we got some things to do today. So we just want to jump on and just chat for a little bit. So there you go. But I would like to get engagement from people. Again, you and I are quick to read conversations after the fact and comments, whatever the case. Somebody reaches out, IMs, whatever. What would you like to see moving forward? I know we had said we were going to open that up here in the past couple of months, and not just topics. Would you like to see more people jump up here with us? Would you like to join us up here on camera? Love to have you. But when you talked about what people say and not really knowing what they're going to say, just be mindful that, this isn't that pod that you can come on here and just get the cursing going on. Because we don't do that, at least not on here. So please make sure that you're mindful of that. But we would love to hear all of your thoughts and any feedback that you have, because again, we're only as good at doing this as you coming on here and engaging with us. So there you go.
Well,
Um,
there's a way that you can tell your story. I'm not going to tell no one else's story, but there's a way that you could tell your story it decreases the likelihood that it will be offensive. That's it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I like that. Okay. Well, Chuck, what else we got? Let me just say this and kind of get it out of the way, because you notice that I haven't said it, but you done said it twice now. So Deanne Sweet Shop apparently is the sponsor of this lovely podcast.
It is. Yes.
I think that's hilarious. Okay. So Chuck said it last month, and I was laughing in my spirit like, oh, here he goes again. So Deanne Sweet Shop is a cookie. I'm going to call it cookie, but but even though I call it Sweet Shop, it's a cookie company I started, and then I launched the website a little over a month ago. I think I'm going into close to a month and a week or whatever the case. But it's something that's relatively recent. I've sent my brother Chuck some stuff, which I got to send you some more stuff, because I done got it down now. Blah blah blah. How I want to go about doing this, but it was a passion of mine from well over 20 years ago, and had no idea that it was going to be something that I would actually do. But this is what I will tell you for those of you that understand the word being the Lord's word. The Bible says, and I love saying that, but the Bible says you have not because you ask not. The Bible also says that there's power of life and death in your tongue. And I spoke it 23, 24 years ago. to my mother, and I have that on the website, that I thought I wanted to do this in retirement. God heard me and brought it to me, and I wasn't thinking anything about it. I was too busy doing other things, working and other little sidebar things. Never thought. And so when he presented it, I knew it was him. And so I'm being, faithful and obedient and doing what he wants for me to do at this point. So the name of the company is D apostrophe ANN apostrophe S, Deanne's Sweet Shop. We are online. The website is deannesweetshop.com. We have coupons that are going on right now, and I try to ship everything out. I bake everything homemade and fresh, and I try to get everything out within about 2 days or so that way you could have it within 2 or 3 days of it leaving my oven. But if you have any questions, reach out to me. I'm on all social medias, so TikTok and IG and Facebook and the website, Deanne's Sweet Shop. If you can't find it with the apostrophe, just try it as DANNS Sweet Shop. You'll find us. I promise you we're online. Does that cover everything, Chuck? So that way we don't have to keep talking about me sponsoring.
That's actually a perfect way to go ahead and wrap up. That's what I was at. Just what the word from our sponsor. So thank you very much for sharing that. And again, thank you for a wonderful year. And this has been a fantastic, recap. And hey, you never know.
You never know. That means stay tuned, number one. Number two, this might be it, y'all. Y'all may not sit there again, but we'll let you know. And either way, we'll see what 2026 brings. Apparently, we're pretty busy. But anyway, brother, I love you. Brother King, we see you. Good morning to you, brother, as well. And you be blessed. All of y'all be blessed. Have a happy new year. And we'll see you next year. Maybe. Oh, gosh, that's terrible. Okay.
You're terrible.
Wait a minute.